welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights or information or simply learning from them. And today we have Shay Kent. She is an author, a speaker dedicated to empowering women to live their best life. Welcome to the show, Shay.
Hi, thank you for having me, AJ.
You are welcome to the show, Shay. We are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about how one can reach their goals and thrive. So, my first question is to get a sense of your own journey, Shay, so that people know who they are listening to.
I think, as many of us, we have pivotal moments in our life that really take us on the path that we were heading, completely change things up and move us away. So I can pinpoint one of mine. I've had a couple of them in my life so far, but I was 26 years old. I was broke as a joke. Like, I was scraping change together to try to find enough to eat Taco Bell. I worked in a restaurant, didn't make much money at all. And one night, my manager came up to me and asked me to start training to be a manager myself, which at the time would have been amazing, like a salary job. I would have had security. Except I knew that if I were to say yes to that opportunity, I was saying no to all of the other opportunities that could be in my life. And it was at that moment that I quit my job. I went and I enrolled in film school, which was a dream of mine forever. And I took 18 to 22 credit hours every semester to graduate with honors, and started my journey in the film industry. My very first gig was on The Walking Dead season 2. I worked on American Idol, Survivor, just a ton of different shows. And within all of that, I was working 12-hour days. That's the minimum that you work in the film industry for somebody else. And I thought, well, this is silly. Why am I putting all of this time and energy to work for somebody else when I could be working for myself? So this was a pivot number 2, where I decided, you know what? I'm going to start my own business and put all of those hours into building myself up, because when you bet on yourself and when you invest in yourself, the only way to go is up. And so that's exactly what I did. I started flipping houses. I started a home staging business. I started coaching other home stagers about how to talk about their business and get marketing done. And then I pivoted into online platforms, had a baby at 41. And that's when I wrote my book, She Is You, Unleash the Confident, Successful Woman Within. That brings us to where we are right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll come to the book first to understand about. You talk about opening your mind to receive success. So how should people learn this opening mind, and how should they calibrate with hard work? Some people say you need to work very hard to achieve whatever you want, and then
Yeah.
you talk about opening your mind to success. So how does those are those two things very different, or they are somewhere related? I want to understand from your story.
I believe they are parallel to one another. I believe that it is possible to work really, 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 really hard and not get much traction. And that's what a lot of people do. That's sort of where that mantra of work hard your whole life and save your pennies. And then maybe one day you might be able to retire. And I'm thinking more like, why don't we work smarter, not harder, in an inspired way? So the whole way of opening your mind to being able to receive success is really a 3-part process. And I've used this process over and over and over again and have had success every single time. So the very first one, I like to call it the Abby method. The A stands for awareness, B is breakthrough, and I is inspired action. So the very first part is the awareness piece. And this is absolutely critical if you really want to change your life and have lasting results. So awareness is truly becoming aware of where you are right now in your life, how you managed to get yourself there, deciding whether or not you like it or not, and then also having the awareness of where specifically do you want to go. Uh, Breakthrough is where you get to break through the limiting beliefs and the thought processes that have gotten you to where you are right now. So in the awareness bit, you're going to discover what is holding you back and it's ourselves, 100%. We can always point and blame and all of this stuff. But when you are pointing at somebody else or the circumstances of your life or events that happened, you're giving away your power. You have no power, responsibility to do anything about that. When you're looking at yourself and pointing at yourself and saying, these events happened, and this is my reaction to them. This is the automatic responses that played out. Like here's how I was being in that situation. You take the responsibility and therefore the power to actually change, because we're not able to change something that's outside of ourselves, right? So we take the power back and we can change. That's where the breakthrough happens. To change is actually scary. We are hardwired to resist change. There's a lot of research that goes into that, and anybody can Google it and look it up. But basically, it all boils down to change is scary, and that scariness triggers that fight, flight, or freeze response within us that has been, for as long as humans have been around. Um, and that's why change is so hard. So that's where in the breakthrough you get to really break through those limiting beliefs and release that. And then of course that leads into inspired action. Now I don't know if you have been following any of the gurus on all over the internet, and they're talking about take massive action, do more, get up at like 3 a.m. and stay up till midnight, just hustle, grind. That's a recipe for burnout. That's really not going to, you might get close to your goal. You might even hit the goal, but we're going to be so burned out and tired by the time you get there, it's not going to be worth it. So my model is let's take inspired action, which is those action steps coming from within, from your inner guidance, from your intuition, if you will, from the things that make you really excited to jump out of bed and get done in the morning. And let's make sure that we're getting that massive like ROI, right? The biggest return on investment. If I'm going to spend my time doing something, I want to see big results. So with the inspired action, it's doing something that you love in a big scale so you can see those big results. And when you have big results, you're going to find that motivation to keep going. And with repetition and you're doing everything, your inspired action steps every day, you're going to have more results, which is going to make you feel more inspired to do more. And the journey is going to become something that is enjoyable, not this hustle grind thing that a lot of people say you should be doing.
Right, right, Shay. Now let me understand it. You talk about, decision making directly affecting success. So some many a times we are not in a position to decide. We are always just doing things as they come. So how do I create that headroom for myself in terms of making some decision about myself? Many a times life does not give an opportunity, or maybe we are not able to see that situation. So how do we do that so that we can get onto the path of success?
That's a wonderful question. And that happens in the awareness piece. So I know there are a lot of times in life that outside events are happening and we feel that we don't have any decision making at all. We just have to write it out. However, the decision making in any of those in any of those events is really your decision of how you're going to be. So in my book, She Is You, I talk about being a lot. The beingness of somebody is going to affect maybe not the event that's happening right at that moment, but it will affect your life on the outside of that. So if I'm driving down the street and I get hit by a car, right? Somebody rear ends me, and I have a decision right there. Yes, being rear-ended was not my decision and not my fault. My responsibility within that situation is how am I being? So I have the choice or the decision of getting out of the car and being really angry at that driver. Oh, what are you doing? Blah, 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 and making a scene out of myself. Or I have the decision to get out of my car and have come with kindness, like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, how can we work together now to make sure that we're both safe and we get this cleaned up and we move on with our lives? So those are the kinds of decisions that you have every moment of the day. Within anything that happens throughout your day, you have a decision of how you're going to be. You've had a really long day at work, you come home, the kids are crazy, wah, all you want to do is sit down, maybe have a glass of wine. You're just like, oh, you have the decision. I can walk into my home, be absent, grab my glass of wine, sit on the couch, turn the TV on, and ignore the kids. Or I have the decision of coming in and being an active participant in my children's life, because overall, the kids are going to remember that. Like, what's more important in that moment? And those are the decisions that you get to have. And that's why the first step is awareness, becoming aware of how your beingness is within any event, which gives you the power, also known as the responsibility, to make that decision and that choice of how you're going to show up and show up that way. And when you continually show up in a manner that's going to propel you forward, your success will come much faster than if you're sitting there on your couch ignoring your kids with a glass of wine. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Now let's come down to your book and learn from there. So, you are the author of She Is You, Unleash the Confident, Successful Woman Within. So, tell us about this. Who is this book for? And what have you dealt in this book so that, our listeners can understand about that?
So the book She Is You, I really wrote it for any woman. It's geared towards women. The process would still be the same for a male. However, the stories and everything are geared towards women who are going through any sort of pivotal moment, a change in their life. Maybe they're feeling like, I just don't know what I'm doing. Um, for me, another major breakthrough was I was sitting on my couch crying into a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, watching the Netflix show I Am Not Your Guru about Tony Robbins, thinking, what am I doing with my life? I was at absolute rock bottom and I had no clue. That's who I wrote the book for. Coming out of that space like a phoenix rising out of the ashes, to be like really dramatic about it. Uh, that was what really propelled me forward. After that, like I had a lot of successes before, but after that was like my real rock bottom. Everything changed in my life. So I wrote the book for women who are experiencing that. I just am not sure what I'm doing with my life. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what action steps I need to be taking. I don't even know how to plan what it is that I want. And a lot of people struggle with, I don't really know what it is that I want. And so this book is really going to help give clarity around creating specific goals or a specific like outcome, leaning into your passion, getting rid of those negative thoughts that we have and those negative processes that we automatically step into, and then really becoming that successful, confident person, the woman that you want to show up to be when you step outside in the morning and have people go, oh, wow, like she looks so confident. She looks so successful. She looks like she loves life. That's what the book is for.
Right, right, Shay. One more important thing I wanted to talk about was that you want to inspire a lot of women to stop, settling and start living their life through edutainment, education, and entertainment. Now, in these shifting times, how does one set their goal, especially with artificial intelligence coming in, with Sora coming in, all the entertainment, everything will keep out. So what you learn now, maybe, maybe a bit uh, old by the evening time, so it's that fast. How do you
Sure.
then set your goals, especially in, education and edutainment? Because a lot is changing very fast. How do they do that?
So I coined the term edutainment to combine entertaining with educating, right?
Right.
So it really comes down to knowing what it is that you truly want in life and being able to focus and not getting lost in all that other stuff that's going on. Yes, the world is changing, and yes, we're having, AI pop up, as you said, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of ChatGPT. I get on that thing all of the time and just ask it questions to help me find clarity around something I'm dealing with. And I would suggest that, you and your listeners do the same if you really want to start incorporating that into our lives. But it's a really a fundamental thing with goal setting. Um, I use SMART goals. You have to be very specific. So, what is it exactly that you want? If you were to say, "Oh, I want to make more money," that's a very vague goal. Now, if you were to say, "I want to make $500 more money," that's specific outcome that you can then action. And even to take it one more step, I want to make extra $500 in passive income, then your action steps are going to be completely different from I just want to make an extra $500 to I'm making my extra $500 in a passive way. Those inspired action steps are two different things. So to have that specificity, I can never say that word, to be very specific about what it is that you want is going to then affect the whole plan that you're going to be creating for yourself. And the next thing is measurable. If there's no way to actually measure how close you're getting to your end goal, how are you going to know if you get it or not? So you have to make sure that there's a metric for that. Now, in my example, it's real easy, right? $500, I'm either getting more money or I'm not. So you can easily see that. And when you can see your progress and your actions are actually getting you results, it's so easy to continue going in that inspired action that I talked about earlier. The A is for attainable. So we want to make sure that whatever goal you're setting for yourself is something that can actually be attained. Now, if you were to say, I want to fly myself like in my body, flap my arms and go to the moon, like that's not going to ever happen. Okay. So we can just throw that idea right out of your brain. The R, now I do my R a little bit different than if you were to Google what a SMART goal is. My R is risky. What are you going to risk in order to get this goal? And it doesn't have to be something like, I think a lot of people think of risk like, oh, I'm going to be gambling my life savings away or something like that. And that's not what I'm talking about here. The risk is putting yourself out there a little bit because life happens outside of your comfort zone. So when we are expanding ourselves, and we talk about this a lot in the book as well, expanding outside of your comfort zones, you're doing things that are different from what you would do in your everyday action. That's risky because it's scary. And that goes back to that little lizard brain going, ooh, this is scary, fight, flight, or freeze, because the brain processes fear in the same way that we did when we were running around on the plains, trying to, I don't know, outrun saber-toothed tigers to not be eaten as food. We don't really have that so much in this day and age. And so if you are scared of public speaking, you're going to have that same response. Therefore, you're not going to do public speaking, and then you're going to miss out on all of those opportunities. So what is it you're willing to risk when you're setting your goals? And then, of course, the T is for timetable. So you have to have a specific timeline and when you want to have things done. I recommend choosing a bigger goal that's going to take you 12 months to accomplish, and then you backward plan for that. So what do I have to have done in 9 months? What do I have to have done in 6 months? Excuse me. What do I have to have done in 3 months? And then from there, when you go all the way back to, okay, I'm at my 3-month mark. What are my major milestones then that I need to get there to get to that first milestone mark? Then this is where the fun part comes in. You take your largest inspired action step and you get started. You don't wait anymore. You don't plan anymore because you've already made the plan in your goal setting. You've already made the plan. You're done. Now it's time to go, get moving. And that's when you get to have all of the fun, get outside of your comfort zone, get a little scared, the good kind of scared where your palms get a little sweaty and you're excited and you're like, oh, but what if I fail? Yeah, but what if you don't? What if you are so successful and it just takes off? And then what happens after you've reached this goal? Like, what's the next step? So being able to stay focused, have that plan, make sure you're keeping all of this other crap outside of your vision, because when we are focused on everything else that's going on, we're not staying in our lane. We need to stay in our lane so we know where we're going and we can get there and be successful at it.
Wonderful, wonderful. There's much to learn from you, Shay, and I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of women would like to learn from you, connect with you, be a part of what you are doing. So, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
The best way is on my website, www.beasuccessfulwoman.com. And they can pick up the book there, or they can pick up the book on Amazon.com as well.
Wonderful. With this, it's set up on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining
Thank you.
us.